Welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, April 19th, 2017. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Accountability is a fundamental element of a democracy and must never be looked at as something optional. That's the view of leader of the opposition New Democratic Party, Dr. Godwin Friday, as he spoke at a media conference today on issues relating to accountability and where he claims the government has fallen short on its legal and constitutional responsibilities. Dr. Friday noted that both in the Constitution and in legislation, the Minister of Finance, who is the Prime Minister, has a responsibility to give a full account of the finances of the government in Parliament. Dr. Friday contends that the Prime Minister has not been fulfilling his responsibilities in this regard, highlighting the recent construction of the Argyle International Airport, where the public is yet to be presented with an audited report on its cost, which in Friday's view is a contravention of the law.
We're told by Dr. Gonzalez, the Minister of Finance, during this year's budget debate that the country owes $400 million that was borrowed specifically to build the airport. But he brought no audited financial statements from the Director of Audit to support anything that he said. So we are supposed to take his word for it? What is the true cost? All sorts of numbers are being bandied about. Every time you turn around, you hear a different figure. Are we supposed to just believe the PM, the Prime Minister, because he said this in the House of Assembly? Well, that is not how it works. We cannot simply take his word for it. In fact, the law says that we must not take his word for it.
Dr. Friday added that the laws of St. Vincent and the Grenadines also mandates an audit of each statutory body, which includes the IADC, noted that no audited financial statement has been laid before Parliament for an extended period of time and considers this another example of the lack of accountability shown by the ULP administration.
The IADC has operated for 13 years. And in complete contravention of the laws of the country, the Minister of Finance has not brought a single audited financial statement of the IADC to Parliament, and therefore to the people of this country. Similarly, National Properties Limited, a statutory corporation established by this government in 2001 to handle real estate transactions, and which has been deeply connected to the operations of the IADC since 2005, has not had a single audited financial statement laid in the House for the entire time of its operation. The local companies that the government established to operate the Petrocarib scheme, which have had hundreds of millions of dollars passing through them over the past 10+ years, have never had audited financial statements laid in the House.
Stating that accountability is not about simply talking on the radio programs, but about following the laws of the country. The opposition leader called on the Director of Audits to end the silence on the matter, noting that it is of national importance.
We in the New Democratic Party now call on the Director of Audit, who is a constitutionally independent office and a servant of the public interest, to break the silence on this matter of vital and fundamental national importance. We await her urgent response. But in the meantime, we shall be taking necessary actions to see that this atrocity does not continue. Despite all the overheated rhetoric we hear from Dr. Gonzalez about good governance and serious business, he is in breach of the law concerning accountability. Under successive ULP administrations, governance in St. Vincent and the Grenadines has actually fallen by the wayside and has been replaced by smoke screens, a hug-up, and a set of daily old talk on the radio programs. You see, accountability is not about going on the radio every day and talking. Accountability is what the Finance Administration Act says.
Calls for persons in the Grenadines, in particularly on Bequia, to boycott solid waste collection services or simply not pay their arrears in payments shows utter irresponsibility. That's the opinion of educator Philbert John while speaking on the Issues at Hand radio program on Sunday, as he spoke on the ongoing issue where persons in the Grenadines have been speaking out against payments accumulated from not paying their solid waste collection bills. John, who gave a brief overview on how the issue came into play, outlined that with the coming into being of the solid waste unit, a levy was imposed by the government to subsidize the cost of solid waste disposal from households across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He added that while the payment collection was attached to the CWSA bills for residents on the mainland, the St. Vincent Electricity Services Limited, VINLEC, was given the responsibility to collect the payments through the use of their billing service from residents in the Grenadines, since there is no direct contact with the CWSA on the islands. Noting that while some persons have been in compliance with the payment mechanism, others have refused to do so, which has led to a high outstanding balance on their account, according to the CWSA. John added that he was disheartened by the calls by respectable persons within the society for residents in Bequia to simply disregard their bill payments.
Some persons who are supposed to be responsible citizens and who have a voice and privileged enough to have a platform have been calling on persons to reject whatever the CWSA is trying to do in order to resolve the situation. Some persons have called for a protest from the people of Bequia. Some persons have called for a boycott of the services. And they really created an issue and a necessary issue out of this. The manager of the Central Water and Sewage Authority, Mr. Gart Sanders, who carefully explained the situation and made the offer to residents to come in and they can resolve the issue. The point is, by law, you have to pay for solid waste disposal. And I want to emphasize from my own standpoint, I don't think it is the full fee that people pay. I don't think they could ever cover the cost with a $10 per month fee of what it takes to cover the entire country, including the Grenadines. And I understand the Grenadines, particularly Bequia, while on the mainland it's once a week, in most communities, on Bequia it is twice per week.
The educator pointed out that while many persons may not agree upon the manner in which the authorities try to implement or enforce the fee, there is still no need for residents to not pay their bills. He further urged persons not to let partisan politics get the better of the situation and to work along with the authorities to settle the issue.
Grenadines pay the most into the coffers and of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and everything in the Grenadines is high, and they should not pay, period. It's disconcerting to me to hear that kind of rhetoric. I've even heard people talking about separation again, raising the whole Mitchell principle. Those kind of rhetoric, I find it rather unfortunate. I would urge the persons who are affected to accept the invitation of Mr. Gart Sanders and visit, if Mr. Sanders, if it is difficult for persons to visit the Grenadines, visit the Central Water and Sewage Authority. I would suggest that the Central Water and Sewage Authority perhaps send on an agent or agents so that people can set themselves up in one of the public buildings and let people go and meet them and get the matter there resolved.
Minibus operators here are calling for more to be done in addressing the issue of bad road conditions across the country, especially in regards to potholes. Identified as a major concern for members of the National Omnibus Association, NOBA, President Anthony Bacchus outlined at a media conference on Tuesday morning that while the majority of main roads are in a good condition, drivers continue to experience difficulties along secondary roads where large potholes are becoming more prominent. He added that coming out of a meeting with the Ministry of Transport and Works, the association has decided to exercise patience on the issue.
On the main highways, the main roads going out to the countryside, Mespo side, well, I can't mention the Leeward side because that's nice and smooth. They're almost finished. They're up to Layu, almost finished. NOBA had a meeting with Mr. Julian Francis, the Minister of State, and he mentioned to us that the machine, the hot mix machine that's located at the AIA, Argyle International Airport, they have some problems with that machine. And if they get the hot mix from some other place, they get hot mix, the hot mix would not last, would not stay hot until they get to the destination where the road had to be fixed. So what they did, they ordered some parts for that machine and it should be here by the 23rd. NOBA has been very patient. These roads are costing minibus operators more costs, very costly to maintain our vehicles.
Highlighting his satisfaction with the almost completed Leeward Highway, Bacchus made note of discussions held with the Traffic Department and the Transport Board as it regards to the establishment of bus stops in key locations, mainly between the Leeward Bus Terminal and the Central Water and Sewage Authority's headquarters.
Terminal, there is no bus stop until you reach Stony Ground, which is ridiculous. We spoke to the Transport Board. There's supposed to be a bus stop around the corner from the main entrance of the hospital. We would like to see the yellow sign there and a bus stop sign there. We would like to see another bus stop by Water Authority, because people from all over comes and go to the Water Authority to pay their bills. There's no bus stops, nowhere close there. We are asking for a bus stop to be placed in that area, a safe spot in that area, so the people, the traveling public could exit these buses at the bus stops and go ahead, take care of their business.
And on his radio program on Tuesday evening, Minister of Transport and Works Senator Julian Francis said the road network across the country will soon receive a much-needed facelift and urged Vincentians to be patient with the government. Francis, who is also the General Secretary of the ruling Unity Labour Party administration, admitted that he too felt the brunt of the dire road conditions and asked persons to give consideration to the government. Specifically speaking on the South Leeward Highway, Francis said that the project, which amounts to over $20 million, has passed its projected completion date. However, he gave the assurance that the government is doing its best to provide proper roads for citizens.
I myself suffered at the hands of the works that were being done on the South Leeward Highway. I changed a lot of parts on my vehicles, and I know that it is costly to use bad roads. But now that the South Leeward Highway is paved from Hospital Corner to Louis Straker Learning Resource Center in Layu, you don't hear anybody saying that the road feel good on public radio. You don't hear those who criticize and chant the contractors and the consultants and the Ministry of Works and Julian Francis, the Minister of Works, because it is expected that we should have all the roads in that condition. Well, it is not easy and that simple to have all the roads in that condition. South Leeward Highway is a $25 million project. And it got started in October of 2014 or September of 2014. It was supposed to be 21 months. And it was extended. The last extension ended on the 7th of April, which is like 2 weeks ago.
Explaining that the condition of some roads were as a result of the torrential rains during the 2016 trough systems. Senator Francis acknowledged that despite this, the quality of work done on the roads in recent times cannot be questioned.
Some temporary patching have been done, but major permanent repairs to these areas. Once that is done, we will have a perfect surface between here and Layu. I recall when the Windward Highway was done, spending $140 million from Fancy to Sally Spring. There was a lot of curse and carrying on while the construction was ongoing, and a bad road. The people on the windward side of the island took their licks, and they were quite happy with the quality of road they got. There's a lot of traffic on the road now, and there's some areas that start deteriorating already that even require patching. And we have been doing some patching on the Windward Highway. But you have done basically 8 miles on the South Leeward Highway for $25 million. That takes you a little bit over $3 million per mile to do that quality work.
The Transport and Works Minister further stated that while the roads on both ends of the country are in reasonable conditions, the government's focus is now on secondary and village roads.
There's about close to $90 million worth value, $90 million worth of work to be done on roads, secondary and village roads. In other words, the 2 main highways are basically in good shape. Yes, there's some potholes going down Happy Hill, going down to Mount Twin, and we will patch those out shortly. But generally, the Leeward Highway from Chateaubelair to Kingstown, surface-wise, is in pretty good shape. And the Windward Highway from Fancy to Sally Spring is also in good shape. So that what we need to concentrate on is the secondary roads and those village roads and feeder roads. And that's where the $90 million come in. We've gotten to the stage where we now have a consultant appointed to the contract and to the project. That was just done like 2 weeks ago.
And Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves is adding his discontentment to statements made by President of the National Omnibus Association, Anthony Bacchus, at a media conference on Tuesday, where he threatened strike action if the government moves to implement a ban on loud music played in vans. PM Gonsalves, who was speaking on Star FM this morning, said that the minibus drivers cannot hold the traveling public to ransom with their loud music. The Prime Minister said that he is pleased that the police are looking into the matter, which is a public outcry which must be regulated.
In the old days, you had baronial power in England. In the old days, you have all kind of elite power of some kind. But you can't have power by somebody, a group, simply because they provide a useful service. I mean, the minibus service is very important for the country.
Yes.
But you can't, not because you provide a good service, that if you offend the whole of the country regarding the loud music, they will just simply isolate themselves.
There you go.
You know, that's just a kind of hot-headed response. It clearly has to be regulated.
Yes.
And there's existing law to regulate, and there would be other laws that should come into place to have proper, more efficient, more efficacious regulation. You can't have a kind of baronial power overlording the society because you operate in, you want to say you could play whatever music you want, however loud you want. No, that can't be the case.
The Prime Minister described the issue of loud music in vans as a serious issue which brings discomfort to passengers. He also noted that loud music is not good for anyone's health and overall safety.
The bulk of the minibus drivers are sensible people. They wouldn't go down that road with one or two persons who just respond in a hot-headed manner. No.
Yes.
The overwhelming majority of people in the country want it to be properly regulated further, and the existing regulations, they want the police to deal with the problem.
Very well.
I mean, it's self-evident that it's a serious issue for it's a matter of discomfort for people who ride in, and the person who is driving. It is natural that if you have your senses bombarded with loud music on an ongoing basis, it's not good for your health and your reflexes. Apart from what the music itself may say, I'm talking purely in terms of noise. I mean, clearly, that has to be. I'm happy to see that the police is taking some steps in that regard.
Second in command of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force, Colin John, said his team is on the ball to curb crime in the country. In an interview with SVG-TV News on Tuesday, the Deputy Commissioner acting said that they have been constantly going back to the drawing board to strategize ways in which to keep crime at bay, adding that they have learned from previous experiences the need to be more proactive, indicating that the community of Otley Hall is gradually becoming a hotspot yet again following the recent shooting of 32-year-old Shamil Bowens, which occurred on Wednesday, April 12. DCP John said it is a community that they will have under close surveillance.
Intelligence agencies of the police, we are carrying out surveillance as to how to tackle the crime situation. We learn from previous years, and we are really trying as best as possible to be as proactive as possible, because we know that, okay, we cannot wait for an incident. Prevention is always the best remedy. So we are trying as far as possible to prevent. Where we receive information that this thing or these things are likely to happen, we will try to deploy resources in that area. The area of Otley Hall does seem to be acting up again. There's a police station there in Otley Hall. We will have to up our game in that area, because we are trying as far as possible to prevent crime generally, and where specific areas seem to be hotspots, we target them and we try to, as far as possible, diffuse the situation before it really gets out of hand.
Noting that the outpost stations have been effective, the Deputy Commissioner of Police took the opportunity to appeal to Vincentians to abide with the police to ensure the safety of all.
The police cannot be everywhere at every time. So we try as far as possible to strengthen the patrols and to increase the frequency of patrols. I'm not telling tales out of school. I'm not telling something that is not known to the public. We would be doing more stop and search in the area in terms of randomly stopping persons and searching. It may infringe on some persons' privacy, but we have to strike the right balance between the personal privacy and the general security of the public, because members of the public might be going about their business and get caught in crossfire between different groups of persons who want to embark on less than lawful means. So we are trying as far as possible to be as proactive as possible in that regard. And as I said, certain level of inconvenience may be done to the public, but I am at this point asking the members of the public to understand that we are looking into your safety and it's into your best interest why we are doing things like that.
And John said the investigations into the killing of the mother of 5 of Otley Hall, who was gunned down last Wednesday, are still ongoing.
where Shamil, 32 years, of Atley Hall, was shot. The postmortem was conducted today. Based on the report, she died of gunshot wound to her head. We are carrying out investigations currently. 2 persons are in custody assisting the police. We are also in search of another person who is of interest to the police as regards this matter.
The National Council of Women, the NCW, has issued a statement condemning what it describes as the inhumane and senseless killing of Shamil Bowens of Utley Hall last Wednesday night. Bowens, who became the 9th homicide and the lone female victim for 2017, was reportedly a bystander in her village when she was shot and killed in a hail of bullets. President of the National Council of Women, Beverly Richards, stated the issue of crime and violence is on the front burner of the security force, the Ministry of National Security, and the government, but the dilemma is escalating and propelling out of control. Richards expressed concern about the numbers, the frequency, and the gravity of the cases and said a change in the strategy is needed, noting that it is clear that the presence of police is not much deterrent and that more community involvement is needed. The NCW president further stated that persons need to settle their differences in amicable and sensible ways and that a concerted effort must be made to stop this community decay by reducing the prevalence of insecurity, fear, violence and crime.